Hey everybody, welcome, and welcome to the 5th annual 360 Open Summit. We are back, we are in person, very clearly in a packed room.
Humans!
And we could not be more thrilled than to welcome you all here to Brussels.
I think we get to clap now again.
Yeah,
I'm just going to do that.
If you don't know who we are, my name is Graham Brookie. I'm the director of the Digital Forensic Research Lab here at the Atlantic Council.
And I'm Rose Jackson. I'm the director of our Democracy and Tech Initiative, which is also at the Atlantic Council, it turns out. And it's been 2 very long years since we've all gathered in person in some place other than perhaps a Zoom screen. I should have brought a cardboard cutout to make this a little more normal for you, perhaps. And I think it's fair to say that since the last time we all gathered together as humans in a large, packed, but very safe room, some things changed.
Seriously? Yeah, this is true. A global pandemic, countless elections around the world, one very notable insurrection, shifting geopolitical winds, supply chain issues, and an unjustified war on European soil fueled by authoritarianism, corruption, and disinformation.
I mean, absolutely all of those things, certainly, but I was kind of thinking a little bit more about the fact that the DFRLab, the last time you did this, was like 5 people around a small table. And we're here right now with all of these people in the room, 40 staff with the Digital Forensic Research Lab spread around the world, and of course our audience joining us online from around the world. So that looks a little different too.
This is true. We have collectively made a lot of progress. And the last time we gathered in person, it was in London, and we were still all answering questions that I'm sure everybody in this room is used to, like, is everything on the internet a Russian bot?
And now we just have Elon.
That's a bot joke.
That's bad. It did not land, it turns. No. It's all right. Be
He'll
forgiven.
tweet about it in a minute.
Yay!
Yeah.
But seriously, the community that is dedicated to a shared set of facts and looking at how technology is funded, built, and governed has grown so much in the last 2 years.
I mean, we're joined today by more than 100 independent researchers, journalists, students, and civil society reps from just shy of 50 different countries around the world. And especially taking part in our Digital Sherlocks program. During the pandemic, what we did was we shifted the Digital Sherlocks program to an entirely virtual setting. And what we were able to do was gather, 1,500 people from 114 plus countries. So we're extraordinarily excited to have the best of the best Digital Sherlocks here with us today.
We should also note, though, that we've lost some along the way, including someone who was a mentor, a friend, and an inspiration to many people in this room. She was also one of our most notable Digital Sherlocks.
I'm delighted to be in Berlin, and I want to thank the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab for inviting me to participate in what is truly a unique summit. I've had many titles throughout my career, and I've also been called a few names, some of them flattering, some of them not so much. So, but after participating in yesterday's geolocation challenge, I can add the other of being a digital Sherlock.
Secretary Madeleine Albright dedicated her life to the democratic cause. She understood better than most that democracy depends on ownership. And we're proud of our Sherlocks program being built on that model, helping more people build more resilient ecosystems, information ecosystems in their own communities. Because we all know that democracy and the internet is systemic.
I think, though, we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves because, again, I don't know if we've noticed, there's real humans in a room, and so we maybe should tell you what to expect over the next 2 days.
We've got an incredible 2 days covering everything from the role of information operations in the attempted Russian invasion of Ukraine to Web 3.
Whatever that is.
To trust and safety in augmented reality and virtual reality settings.
This conference is actually 3 separate conferences. And, you know, obviously we have this beautiful main stage right here and a room over there.
This room is where the vast majority of the public programming will happen. And it's where our virtual audience will also join.
We also have a series of side sessions happening throughout the conference, some of which already started this morning and many of you attended.
Most of those sessions will occur on the 3rd floor. So if you got lost a little bit, we're on the 4th floor, they're on the 3rd floor.
And we've got, of course, as we just said, our Digital Sherlocks program with more than 100 people selected from the global program we run around the world here to level up their investigatory skills, collaborate with one another, learn from our incredible partners. You'll see them in and out of this room. They're here right now. And so I do just want to take a moment to say welcome and thank you all for coming. Many of you came from extremely far away, and we're really happy to have you here.
And I'm the logistics guy. The Sherlocks also have a dedicated room on the 3rd floor, which actually happens to look like a scene kind of out of the movie Dr. Strangelove. Sorry for American references. If you don't get that, Google it later. But it is a room where one of the original places where the European Commission came together.
And just around the corner here where most of your coffee breaks will take place, we have an interactive exercise that will be running throughout the conference. So encourage you when you're taking breaks or in between things to go check it out, read the prompts, interact with it, and we'll keep you updated throughout the 2 days.
It's Rose and I, so obviously we've been making a lot of jokes about how notable it is that we're all here in real life.
We didn't say they were good jokes.
You can expect more of them, however. But we know that a lot of us are still adjusting. And it's a little bit weird to be with this amount of people in one place at one time.
So just to encourage you, we really thought about making sure that you would have a safe and comfortable experience. If you're feeling a little overloaded, you can go down to the lounge on the 3rd floor. We'll call it the 360 lounge, where you can take a breather, you can do some work, you can get a little bit space, but all while watching the programming that's happening right up here on a big giant screen in the room.
We're also just really grateful for every one of you being kind and considerate and helping to take care of one another. That's literally what is behind our ability to get this amount of people together globally at this stage in the pandemic.
Now, if that seems like a lot to keep track of, it's because it is. We have a solution for you. So we're going to ask you to do something a little kitschy right now. If you can all take out your phones. Go ahead. Each of you should have just received an email.
Received an email.
Maybe, if it worked, and if it didn't work, then you weren't supposed to receive an email, and instead go search for older emails.
That's tough but fair. And it's prompting you to download the event app and log in. That said, if you already have the event app, then you're already logged in.
And I know you were all thinking, why on earth are you making me download another thing to my phone? I promise you it's worth it. We're going to be using that app throughout the conference, not only for you to keep track of all of these moving pieces, to build your own agendas, but it's also how we're going to be taking questions from the audience throughout all of the panels. So we really encourage you to get on the app and make sure that you're part of the conversation. We'll make sure every single panel has a little bit of time towards the end so that it is truly an interactive experience.
There's a lot going on, and very much on theme. It is our contested realities. So, an undertaking the size of 360 OS is only possible through the support of dozens of partners across civil society.
And we should start with mentioning how pleased we are in particular to be partnering this year with RightsCon, which many of you in this room know is going on concurrently to 360 OS and throughout the week online. We encourage you to check that out, as well as to find the RightsCon room that we have, where we'll be streaming sessions from RightsCon happening throughout the conference so that you are tied in to both communities. We'll be co-hosting a keynote conversation with RightsCon tomorrow between Nobel Peace Prize winning journalist Maria Ressa and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, among a number of other exciting panels.
In addition to RightsCon, the National Democratic Institute, International Republican Institute, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, and the 9 civil society organizations committed to the Action Coalition on Meaningful Transparency are just a handful of the partnerships that made the next 2 days of programming possible.
Please look at the amazing slate on the screen, because we don't want to bore you by reading everything. But I should say, we say it often, but the point of 360 OS, what makes it genuinely special and different is community. It's a cross-section of the truly global group of people working at the intersection of tech and democracy. And we hope that our stage, our side sessions, and this audience reflects the richness of the groups and people involved in making this happen every day.
I should say many thanks to our presenting partners that made this summit possible, namely the United States mission to the European Union, who we will hear from shortly, as well as the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Of course.
And it goes without saying that 360 OS is further strengthened by the valuable inputs of practitioners from industry like Meta and Twitter and the government representatives from over a dozen countries globally, including Canada Global Affairs and the Danish Foreign Ministry, who are supporting a range of main stage and side programming at the conference as well.
And lastly, the summit's media partner, Rest of World, that's the name, it's not the rest of the world, has helped us amplify these conversations with communities not just here in the European Union, but around the world as well. That's what they mean by Rest of World.
It's a great name. You gotta love when branding works. We're also thrilled to be joined by some of the Digital Forensic Research Lab's non-resident fellows, many of whom are in the room, and I'm saying hello and thank you to you now. They represent a cross-section of the diverse expertise and experience that's really necessary to drive forward the connected future that we're all hoping for.
And of course, our DFRLab staff. Our team is really core to what we do. And I can say that personally, we don't get an opportunity to be in the same place at the same time enough. And it's rare to have a true team. And so our experience here today is because everybody across the DFRLab chips in. In fact, you may have been checked in by one of the foremost experts on online harms in any given region around the world, which typically doesn't happen at conferences. So thank you to the DFRLab staff.
All right. Back to business. We're excited to have you here. We're going to get this started very soon. At the top, we talked about how much this community has grown and how much the ways we address the issues we're talking about has changed over the last few years.
We've come to know that if you want to talk about disinformation, you also have to talk about tech policy.
Industry has found new and different ways to address the digital ecosystem. Civil society is continuing to drive forward action and solutions, and governments are all jumping into the fray in their own ways. And that's, I guess, why we chose this year's theme, Contested Realities.
Connected futures.
There are vastly different and conflicting versions of what the world is, what the world should be, and what's possible.
This is true.
Whether democracies or authoritarian governments are better at governing.
Whether there's still an interconnected global internet.
Who should hold power?
Should pineapple go on pizza?
It's the incisive questions you came here for. But regardless of where someone comes down on those very disjointed, extremely disjointed realities, we all know that there's one future and our fates are interconnected.
And that's where your choice comes in.
Authoritarianism depends on everyone going it alone. It depends on the global community ceding the power of collective action and shared values.
It's no accident that we're here today in the European Union and in Brussels, which is the heart of so many of these important conversations on tech policy.
There's also waffles.
And chocolate.
It's another good reason. But it's also no accident that the next guest we're going to introduce was selected to be the US representative to the European Union here in Brussels.
A storied career that includes being the US ambassador to Romania prior to this, a longtime aide to the President of the United States, a lot of experience in private practice, as well as being at the very front end of supporting civil society, especially on tech issues. And so it's our distinct honor to welcome to the stage our newest honorary digital Sherlock, Ambassador Mark Gittenstein.
Ambassador, thank you. Come on up. You can go. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Can people hear me? Yeah. So thank you, Rose and Graham. You stole my opening line, which was that when I grew up, I wanted to be a digital Sherlock. And now I am a digital Sherlock. The other point I'd make before I get started, you didn't mention beer. The best beer in the world, except in the United States, of course. Well, thanks for having me. It's wonderful to see many of my colleagues from the National Security Council, USAID, the Departments of Commerce and State, and to our partners from the European External Action Service and from Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Singapore, and the United Kingdom. But more important to me is civil society organizations collaborating in the event and driving action in disinformation in every corner of the globe. And finally, I'd like to make special recognition of the other digital Sherlocks who are the front action building more resilient democracies and information ecosystems around the world, and who are here from Nigeria, Ghana, India, Ukraine, Georgia, Romania, Macedonia, Poland, the Philippines, Indonesia, Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, and many others. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My team and I are thrilled that we're finally doing this event. This conference, organized so professionally by the Atlantic Council Digital Forensic Research Lab, has been 3 years, in the making. While we weren't able to hold an in-person conference in June of 2020, the focus of this conference, disinformation and Kremlin disinformation, could not be more timely and important. President Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine and the information war against the international order have highlighted the struggle between democracy and autocracy, making it the defining struggle of our time. Putin's barbaric action, cynical manipulation of the truth give all of us a new sense of urgency. We in this room all understand the importance of our work in the context of this current crisis. Believe me, I do. I work on it every day here in Brussels, on everything from export controls to financial sanctions to humanitarian aid, arms deliveries, and now food security. In every case, our work is the subject of disinformation. Let's be blunt, outright lies by the Kremlin. But rather than focus on the specifics of Kremlin disinformations, others here are better at that. I want to remind my fellow Americans in the room how important is your work for our country. And I hope to persuade the global audience that what's important in terms of American democracy is important to any democracy anywhere in the world. In America, we learned this famous story in our so-called civics courses. It's a famous story of Benjamin Franklin emerging from our Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787. And when asked what his colleagues had created in this secret meeting, he responded, quote, "A republic if you can keep it. A republic if you can keep it." I have always thought that he meant it was the responsibility of every citizen to do the work of preserving democracy. But most important, as he and his fellow founder, Thomas Jefferson, was want to say, it is the responsibility of an informed electorate to preserve and defend democracy. Think about the importance of the word informed. By definition, it meant that the free flow of accurate information was the lifeblood of democracy. And when President Biden says that the work of our generation was to save the soul of our country and preserve democracy in the face of autocracy, he meant in part to ensure that public opinion was not manipulated by disinformation or propaganda. If power and technology can manipulate opinion, majority vote is not the bulwark of democracy. A lynch mob is majority vote. Fascism often takes power by majority vote. So your work is indeed existential, not simply for democracy in America, but across the globe. To close, I know you are thinking about these issues as carefully as we are, and I look forward to hearing about the results from this conference. I would also like to thank specifically the team at the Atlantic Council for their amazing efforts over the last few years to bring the conference together, in particular Graham and Rose, Kelsey Henquinet, and Nicholas Yap. Thank you. Now let us begin.